We have a criminal element that is running things here, and you've honestly only got to look around you to see that this is indeed what's going on. This is very, very much the case. Look at the state of the world, folks. Look at the removal of rights that's occurring. Really stand back and look at this whole climate change scenario, and look at the carbon taxes and things that are being introduced in order to protect us from climate change, which is a naturally occurring cycle. So that's the thing, folks. I'm not disputing climate change. No one is disputing climate change. Climates change. That's what climates do. They change. It has been changing ever since we've had a climate on the planet. So it's hard to dispute the fact that climate change is a reality. However, the concept of man-made climate change, that's what is in dispute. The concept of man-made climate change and the need to hand control of all our governments over to a private, unelected banking cartel in order that they may save us from what is actually a naturally occurring cycle. That is the reality of the whole climate change hype, the whole global warming, carbon tax, IMF, World Bank control system that these people are attempting to put in place. That is the issue. That's what needs to be addressed. We can easily fix up the pollution and the damage that's being done to the earth once we've removed the criminals that are doing all of this stuff from positions of power. We don't need to hand the last vestige of any control we have over our own lives over to a criminal cartel that is willing to enact and attempt to justify totalitarian methods and Gestapo tactics like we saw in Copenhagen, like we saw at the G20 summit. This is simply not acceptable, and we can fix this problem by instituting honest government. We first have to realize that we do have a problem. That's one of the difficult things for people. A lot of people seem to have their head in the sand. They just believe what the television tells them, and they refuse to see that there's a problem. I believe that a lot of this is due to the programming that they receive from their television sets. There are so many subliminals in all television programs. I'm really glad that I don't have a television in my house. I truly am. I think one of the most beneficial things that anybody can do with their television is to turn it off completely. Perhaps just turn it on occasionally and check the news to see what sort of propaganda is being fed to the masses, so that you can gain a clearer perspective of what the sheeple are feeling. And start getting out there and connecting with people around you. Start passing information out to people. Start doing things on a grassroots level. Start establishing connections with the people around you. Start trying to get information to police officers as well. Get these people to wake up to what they're doing. As violent as these people are, and as much as our governments seem to train them to act as terrorists towards the people, you really must feel sorry for these individuals, because they are truly some of the most brainwashed people we see within all society. Most police officers are even more brainwashed than military personnel. And ultimately the biggest problem that we face within our respective nations comes from these many brainwashed police officers. There are a lot of police officers who are good people, but many of these officers succumb to peer group pressure. They're standing there in a line with 50 or 100 other officers, most of whom are acting like thugs and terrorists, and they get encouraged to act the same, and they get ostracized by these thugs and terrorists within their ranks if they don't follow suit and terrorize the population the way they are required to do. You really have to feel sorry for these people, folks. These are the people, these are the very people who are creating this totalitarian reality, this global police state. These are the biggest terrorists that our society actually faces. These are the biggest threat people actually faces. It is the blind obedience to authority that many of these police officers have that really is one of the biggest barriers that we have to overcome. We have to help wake these people up to their humanity, because a great number of them appear to have very visibly stepped from that path. These individuals have very much isolated themselves from the people that they are sworn to protect, and they have become tools and puppets of a corrupt government which serves a corrupt banking cartel. Well, I think it's about break time, folks, so we'll leave it there for now. And again, I will try to get things on a bit more of a positive note for the next half of the show. I'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back, folks. Now, in dealing with all of this information, in trying to wake people up to what's going on with all of this stuff, one of the things that many people have the most difficulty with is control of their emotions and understanding their emotions, embracing their emotions and using their emotions. Understanding that emotion is a language. It's as much a language as the spoken word. It's in fact even more of a language than the spoken word. Emotions are what powers the heart. Emotions are what powers the heart's electromagnetic field. And the electromagnetic field that is produced by the heart is what communicates to the etheric field around you, to the energy field that we are all swimming in every moment of every day. This may sound a little esoteric to some, but this is honestly how it works. And this isn't anything new age. This isn't anything religious. This is basic science. This is physics. This is how it works. And when looking at a lot of the shamanistic traditions that talk about these sorts of things, these traditions are not necessarily religious. It's simply an understanding of the connection that we have to everything around us, to the planet, to the surrounding energy field, to everything, to the whole universe. We have this connection. It's important to understand how this works, to understand that your emotions are what charges the energy field around you. The emotions of all the people on the planet combined are creating this combined source of polarized energy that we are all drawing into ourselves, which is helping create this reality, helping to keep us in a state of fear, because it's fear-charged energy because of the societies that we live in are all based on fear. I've spoken to you about this many times. When you are approaching someone to talk to them or to try to wake them up to this information, be aware of what energy you're centered in. Be aware of whether you are speaking in such a manner that would come across as being stressed or being fearful or overexcited or anything like that. Be aware of the emotional state that you're in. Many people get rather excited when they start talking about things. I find myself doing it as well. You begin talking about this stuff to someone and your voice becomes quicker and louder, and suddenly you're trying to get too much information out too quickly. For many people, as soon as the person that they're talking to shows a little bit of interest in what they're saying, suddenly they will gush. They will just gush out all this information. You need to give people small amounts of information, and you need to be aware of the emotion that you're centered in. When you talk to police officers, when you talk to people of authority, don't talk to the uniform. Talk to the person. Love the person. Even if this is some brutish police officer who has almost become his uniform, still look within that person. Look within and see within that person. See that spark of energy within that person and realize that that energy is the same as yourself. This person is simply polarized. And very often he isn't polarized because of his choice to be that way. He is simply polarized in that energetic state because of the perception that he has of reality. And with police officers, you find that they have been trained to have this perception. They have gone through all sorts of processes to make them have this perception and to see that this perception is maintained. Because it is by inducing this emotional state in a police officer that control over the people is maintained. And the way for a police officer to have this control is for the people to willingly relinquish the power that they have. And we the people relinquish this power because we have been trained to do so every bit as much as the police officer. has been trained to act as the keeper of that power. The police officer is almost like a power coupling. He's like a coupling link between the lower masses and the higher ups.